How you doing? This is something I've always wanted to do, reload. And I finally started. I've been thinking about it for years. I was always afraid to do it. The last year or so I've been reading about it, the different things to get to do it, name brands of different presses and dies and stuff. And I've wanted to load, I shoot 308 Winchester. And I have right over here, it's a Model 70 Winchester 308. And so that's what I'm going to reload for. It's the first time I've ever reload. And I bought the Lee, I decided on the Lee one. And I got the Lee Breech Lock Challenger. And I got the whole kit. It came with everything you need to start reloading. The only thing you had to do that didn't come with the kit was I had to get this thing right here, which is, I'll show you in a minute, but that's for bringing the brass down to the right size. You got to make sure you order the one for the caliber you're going to be loading, which mine was 308. So again, I started reloading I ordered this kit about 3 weeks ago. I've been reloading for about, I don't know, about a week and a half now. And it's awesome. I was always, like I said, a little afraid to do it, but now I'm glad I did it. And it saves money, but it's more fun than anything else. So here's an old shell I have here. The first thing you want to do is you put a little bit of lube on the shell. And what that does, when you put it up into the press, it won't get stuck. It will slide up in there nice, resize it, and then decaps it at the same time. Okay? So, and then when this thing here, the Lee press they have now, they come with a quick release bushing, which means you put the quick release in there, you put your decapper in, same thing when I put the other ones in, and you set it to the size to where you want it. And then when you take it out with a quick release bush and put it back in. You never have to adjust it again. It's really cool. So again, it's just simple as this. I take this with a quick release down there, and I just drop it in there, rotate it till it locks in, and then I have my die at the level I want. No problems at all. And again, I put a little bit of the lube on there. Make sure you put a little bit inside the neck, and making sure it goes up in there good. And then you put it on there just like this, and then when you bring it up, it resizes and then knocks out the old primer, and the old primer falls down in here and it goes right in here. Then when I'm ready to empty it, I just take this out and it goes right into the trash. So I'll bring it down and see if you can hear it go ping, that primer coming out. And now the old primer coming out, it's all the way, so it's resized right now. Then I bring it down. Now when I bring it down, okay, now what I do now is I take, here it comes with a kit, but part of the kit, this is a clean out where the old primer was. And you got large on one side and small on the other. And 308 takes a large primer, so I use the end with a large, and I just twist it a couple of times, and it cleans out all the carbon that's in there. Then after you do that, what we're going to do is going to resize it. And it comes with a shell holder right here. I lock it in. And this is the only thing I had to buy different that didn't come with a kit. I had to buy the cutting gauge for 308. And all you got to do is put it in there and turn it. And you don't have to measure it or nothing, because when you use this here, it brings it right down to the proper that you want. And once you do that, once you trim it down to regular size, you take the shell back out, and then you take this thing right here, and you're going to do is chamfer a little bit on the inside, and then chamfer on the outside. And right now this shell right now is ready to reload. It's actually pretty simple when you think about it. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to do is I'm using right here today a primer. It's the large rifle primers number 210 from Federal. Okay. So what I do is I take the primer and I prime it right off the press. It came with a kit that you can do it with one of these things. Put the shell holder and shell in there and do it this way. I find I like doing it right off the press because it gives you one of these things right here. And one is for large primers and one is for small for the pistol. Of course I got the one in large for this one right here. So you just put that in there and it hangs off to the side a little bit. You take the primer and you put the primer in there You put the shell back in, push it down, and then nice and hard, firm, bring that primer up in there. Then you come back out and get the nice primer right in there. So now the shell's nice and primed. And we did, like I said, I do it off the press. I found I like that a lot better, and then doing it with the hand one they sent with it. I'm going to be loading 43.5 grains of powder, and I set the scale right here at 43.5 grams when I weigh it. But when I weigh it, it's going to be just a little under 43, and I mean under. So the scale's set for 43.5, but it's probably right around 43. And then it has this right here that came with it for the loading, and I set it for how many grams of powder I want. So you do is just take the shell, you put it here, rotate it up, bring it down, make sure it's in it, look in, and make sure it's filled with gunpowder, and it's filled with gunpowder. Now, you don't do it every time, but you want to weigh it because you don't want to make sure that it's not overweight. So you pour it in here, and when you pour it in here, when it comes all the way up to here, it's leveled at how much gram you want. And this one here, like I say, it's a little bit under, so that's about 43 grains of gunpowder right there. And that's about all I want, is about 43 grains of gunpowder. So I'll pour that back in there, put that there, then I put the shell back in, up, back, tap it, and it's filled with gunpowder. Then I'm shooting right here, I'm loading the 150 grain full metal jacket for the 308, and that's the name of the brand I'm using, the Sierra Bullets, and again it's 150 grain full metal jacket. So that's what I'm going to be loading. So then I take the shell and I'll put it right there. Now I got this set on the quick release, so I just take this one out, the decapper out, and then I'm going to take this one right here, and this is the one for the for setting the bullet, and I got it all set because it's on the quick release. I don't have to adjust it or nothing. All I do is just take it, put it in there, turn it over, and it's in. And I already adjusted it, so it's ready to set the bullet. Then I take the shell with the brass with the primer and the gunpowder in there. You put it right in here. Then you take the bullet right there, 150 grain, and you put it in there. Then you bring it up and you set it. Then you bring it back, and that's it. Now I have right here is a loaded 308 bullet, ready to go. Now they have the factory crimp die, which is right here. So the factory crimp die is the same thing. I have it all set up. So you just take this one out here, you put in the factory crimp die, you put the bullet in, and you bring it up, push it in there, and bring it back down, and then it crimps it. And all that does is just crimp it a little bit to hold it in. Now if you're firing bolt action, from when I was talking to some people, well, if you're firing bolt action, you really don't need to crimp the die. But if you're doing a tube fed or a semi-automatic, you want to crimp them, because if you don't, they might get pushed in when they're holding each other. I guess when they're all sitting in the tube, the pressure might push the bullet in a little bit. And also, even with a bolt action, if you crimp it a little bit, it builds up a little pressure before the bullet leaves, get a little more power when you fire the bullet. But that's it. That's unloading the 308, 150 grain full metal jacket bullet. And like I said, I just started doing this. I've been reloading probably a week or so, and I just wanted to share that with everybody who's ever thinking about reloading. Maybe give it a shot, because it's a lot of fun and it saves you some money.